Hi there, welcome back to the formulaic approach. Now, in this video, we are going to talk about digestion in man and stick till the end because we are going to lead it up to all the way to food substances and their tests, okay, and how to remember it. Now, let's go to digestion. What is digestion? Digestion can simply be defined as the breakdown of food substances into absorbable forms or the breakdown of food substances to absorb nutrients. So that absorbable form is the nutrient, okay, that is in the food. It is the nutrient that is in the food that we are trying to get access to. That is why we eat, okay? So breakdown of food substances into simpler absorbable forms. Is that clear? Into simpler absorbable forms, which are the nutrients that we are trying to imbibe in the food. Now, there are stages of digestion. Okay, I'm going to still show you the digestion in human, seeing the GIT of the man. But first, we divide the stages of digestion primarily into ingestion. Then we have the digestion itself, the digestion. Then we have assimilation, assimilation. Then, no, absorption first, absorption before assimilation into bloodstream. Absorption, assimilation, and ingestion. I'll quickly run us through what this is. Ingestion simply means taking the food substance into the mouth. That is ingress of the food substance to the mouth. To mouth. Exactly. So that is ingestion, bringing in the food into the mouth. Okay. So now we use something to take the food and put it into the mouth, right? That thing that we use to take the food to the mouth is called our organ of prehension. It's called the organ of prehension. So for human, the prehension organ is our hand. We don't use our mouth to take food directly. We use our hand to take the food into the mouth. So our organ of prehension or our prehensile organ is our hand. For the horse, for example, for the horse, its organ of prehension is the lips, and for us is the tongue. The tongue. It uses the tongue to rasp the food around and take it into its mouth. Do you understand? As well as many ruminants like that. Okay, so that's that. So that's your organ of prehension, the organ which you use to take food into the mouth. Now the ingress of the food into the mouth, the ingress is called ingestion. The food is ingested. Now digestion is now the breakdown. Digestion simply refers to what? Breakdown. And there are two forms of this breakdown. We have the mechanical breakdown, or you can otherwise see it in your textbook as physical breakdown, physical digestion, and chemical, physical properties and chemical properties. You remember in chemistry, so physical and chemical breakdown. Now, chemical digestion. Now, what is the mechanical breakdown or mechanical digestion? It is basically the one that has to do with your organs working together. Just the organs breaking down the food mechanically. So, for example, there are two. There's the one that occurs in the mouth. It's called the one that occurs in the mouth is called mastication. So mastication simply means chewing, okay? Chewing of the food. That is mastication, okay? Okay, or gnawing. That's another word. Gnawing. When someone is gnawing though, the person is eating and masticating in an annoying way, okay? So but the point is mastication helps to break down the food in the mouth. Then the second type of mechanical digestion is churning. Now, this one has to do with the muscles of the GIT, specifically the muscles of the stomach, pressing in on the food. Okay, they are pounding on the food. So as the muscularis is pounding on the food, it is breaking the food further. So that is mechanical digestion. But the chemical digestion has to do with release of enzymes. Okay, chemicals, enzymes, and chemicals. Now, the reason why I separated them, enzymes are also chemical substances. It's just that now there are specific substances that are chemical, but they are not enzymes. Okay, then their enzymes are the chief component of this chemical digestion. Enzymes, they are the ones that play the largest role in chemical digestion, and they are secreted by various organs in the GIT, and we're going to get to that in just a moment. Now, what is absorption? Absorption is uh, um, taking. Now, absorption first. Remember that we said that digestion takes place in mouth and in mouth and in the stomach chiefly, and small intestine. Now, the kind of digestion that takes place in small intestine is absorption. Now, absorption is the removal, absorption, the removal of the nutrients into the bloodstream, the taking of the nutrient from the food into the bloodstream. Do you understand now? To make the nutrient available in the body. So it is absorption, and it happens in the small intestine. In the small intestine. Don't forget that. It happens in the small intestine. Now, assimilation is basically, in absorption, what do we take in? We take in nutrients. But in our assimilation, we basically remove water. This one takes place in the large intestine. Just now, large intestine. And this one is the process of removal of water and other substances that have not been removed in the small intestine from the food. But basically, the chief component that is removed in the large intestine that we call assimilation is water. Exactly. So that's why the food is now, that's how the waste is now turned into solid. Okay. Then we have ingestion. Ingestion is different from ingestion is not equal to excretion. I've told you this before. Now, ingestion is the removal of the fecal matter. Now, what's that fecal matter? That fecal matter is the poop, okay, that comes out as your poop, okay, that is feces that will defecate, exactly. So that is digestion in a jiffy. Now let's go to it in detail. Let's view digestion in detail. So in order to understand how digestion takes place in man, we have to see the human digestive tract. So the human digestive tract begins, we call it the GIT of the man. GIT stands for gastrointestinal tract. Gastrointestinal tract. Now, the gastrointestinal tract begins from the human mouth. Exactly, from the human mouth. So let's draw your gastrointestinal tract. Now, this is the mouth, okay? This is the mouth. Now, when the man opens up his mouth, it takes in food. Exactly, it takes in food. Now, when the food enters the mouth, this is the lip. Just behind the lip, you have your teeth. Then you have your tongue. Okay, you have your tongue that goes down like this. Then we have two tubes here. Okay, one goes out of the mouth. This one that goes out through the mouth. Then there's one that goes out of the nose that comes out of the nostril that leads to the outside, of the nose. Okay, the holes in the nose, we call them nares or nostril. Okay, the nares or nostrils. So that hole is going to enter into this place like this and connect here. Is that clear? Now the point of connection of the mouth and this nose here is this portion here, this point here, and it's called the pharynx. Pharynx. So basically, the back of your throat here is the pharynx. Now there is something here, a small flap here. This flap here is called the velum. Okay, the velum. Now the velum is what covers this place. It covers this place when you are swallowing. When you are swallowing. That's why during the moment of swallowing, there is no you don't breathe. If you are swallowing, for example, try and swallow your spittle now. You notice that during that short moment that the food is trying, that thing is trying to go down this throat, for example, I mean, during that moment in time, you are not breathing. Is that clear? So this is your velum, and this pharynx is divided into I think three. There is the one that is at the top here, that is the closest to the nares. The nares here is called the nasopharynx. Nasopharynx. Then the one that is here that connects to the mouth is called the oral cavity. This opening here, this opening here is what we call the oral cavity. Oral cavity. The entire structure here inside the mouth, we call it together the buccal cavity. All right, here's now my point. That portion there is called the oral pharynx. Oral pharynx, and the later portion will be the epipharynx. That is the one that leaves the epipharynx, the one that goes away from the pharynx, that leads out of the pharynx. And that one that leads out of the pharynx is the one that leads directly to your esophagus. Exactly, your esophagus. Now, we now said that this is your teeth. This is the teeth. So the teeth helps in mastication of the food. The teeth helps in the mastication or chewing of the food, mechanical digestion. So when you chews the food, the tongue during that moment will be rolling the food. It will be rolling the food up into what is known as a bolus. The tongue rolls the food into a bolus. It rolls the food into a bolus. Okay? The bolus is still solid material, but it has been broken up fairly. Do you understand? It has been broken down rather fairly. So fairly means it has not been totally broken down. Exactly. So that's the bolus. So what makes it to your throat is the bolus. Keep that in mind. What makes it to your throat is the bolus. Now, here, there is just beneath the tongue here, there are two salivary glands. We call them we say the salivary glands. Salivary glands. So there are many salivary glands, okay? But there are three major ones that you need to know. There is one vine just in front of your ear here, okay? And that one is called the parotid salivary gland. Then there are two under here. We have the submandibular and the sublingual. The sublingual, all right? The submandibular gland and the sublingual gland, salivary gland. Now, the content. Now, if you have ever opened your mouth and your tongue up, for example, sometimes you see that it must have happened to you that you notice a gush of saliva out. So that is from your sublingual salivary gland. Now, what do? They basically add saliva to your food, roll it up. The tongue now helps to mix it together. Now, inside your saliva, why is your saliva important? Your saliva is the first place where chemical digestion takes place. Chemical digestion. And why? Because your saliva contains enzymes. Your saliva contains what? Enzymes. Now, what are the enzymes that are present in your saliva? Our salivary enzymes. The salivary enzymes include the salivary amylases, okay? The chief one, the most important one, being thiolin. There are many amylases, but the chief one that is found in the salivary gland, in the saliva, is thiolin. All right. So now, what does thiolin do? Thiolin is an enzyme that is active on cooked starch. Is active on cooked starch. Okay, so when you are eating carbohydrate food, a carbohydrate, okay, you know our carbohydrate are split into basically two: the sugars and the larger molecules, the starches. So it aids in the digestion of carbohydrate. So digestion of carbohydrate, don't forget, or starch, basically starts from where? The mouth. It begins in the mouth. Now, this saliva is fairly neutral to alkaline in pH. The pH is about 7.4 to 7.8, 7.4 to 7.6 or thereabout. So you see that is slightly alkalinic, right? So because it is alkaline, it is able to allow this thiolin to perform its function, because that alkaline environment is the optimum environment for thiolin to be active. So when thiolin is secreted in its active form, exactly. So it is secreted and it breaks down starch. It breaks down starch into um, starch is a polysaccharide. It is polysaccharide. Now, when we treat food substances, I'll still give you the details, okay? Now, polysaccharides are now broken down by this starch, and by this thiolin rather, is now broken down into maltose. It's broken down into what? Maltose. Maltose is a disaccharide. Exactly. We'll still get to that. But just take note of the fact that amylase, the chief component that is active in the amylase, salivary amylase, is the thiolin, and it breaks down starch. Now, the food now makes its way down here as a bolus, like we said, right? So in the throat, so this is your esophagus, esophagus, that's how to spell it. Esophagus. Now listen, this is the British spelling. The American spelling begins with an E, in case you have seen that before. All right. Now, here, there is a rhythmic contraction and relaxation. There is a rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the throat, okay? The throat is the English, is the common name for the throat. Exactly. Now this throat lies just in front. Let me show you how it is. So this is the throat. The throat lies behind. There's another one in front. Now this one in front is your trachea. You have seen my video on respiratory system. Is your trachea. Is in front. So now listen, look at the way it is. It is such that there is a small flap here. Watch. Make sure you are looking at my diagram. So you notice that this tube leads into this place and this place, right? Remember I said this is your trachea or your windpipe. Trachea or windpipe. It is at the top here. It is the entrance into the trachea is the larynx. Your larynx is your voice box. So as I'm talking around, that is vibrating. It helps you to know if a sound is voiced or non-voiced. That is your larynx, your voice box. This one windpipe. Okay, so I now said that there is a flap here. There is a flap here. That this flap is called your epiglottis. Now, what does the epiglottis do? The epiglottis helps to cover this place from being invaded by food, not invaded, so that food will not make its way into it, because it is called windpipe. So the only thing that should make its way into it is what? Is the gas called oxygen, or air, basically air, because of course we know that it's not only oxygen we breathe in. Alright, so my point is now that the air is the only thing that is allowed here, so that food particles will not enter into this place. This flap called the epiglottis, as you are swallowing, as this bolus is coming here, it will cover the trachea so that the food slides to this back here. Exactly. So this back is the part of your esophagus. Is it clearer now? Is it becoming clear? So now, what if you now how can food make its way here? If you are talking, the person can die. Okay, that's why you are told not to talk when you eat. Because when you are talking, this thing will be opening up, because by that vibration, the vibration causes it to shake, and as it's shaking, it's opening up. So when it's opening up, it's also opening up when you are breathing, because when you talk, you also breathe. Do you understand? So as you are breathing, it's also opening up. So if you are eating at the same time, during a moment of opening, momentarily, a food can slip into this place. A food particle can slip into this place. And once that happens, the person chokes. So the person is made to cough. There is that coughing sensation that the person feels. The person coughs, and what is that coughing for? To get the food particle out of the place. If the food particle does not get its way out of the place, the person can die. Exactly, because it's going to obstruct the air passage. The air passages that these ones lead into. This guy lead into the lungs. Do you understand now? So that the air passages will not be obstructed, this guy will have to cough, and when he coughs, the food particle goes out, so and enters into this place. So, like I was now saying, so we know the function of the epiglottis now. I now say that the food particle, so I'm drawing the back now. So the one we saw just now was this place, the trachea, then this is our esophagus, continuing here. Our esophagus, somewhere in front and posterior to the heart, somewhere posterior to the heart, just behind, but underneath, exactly, underneath the heart. Okay, because there is a flap that separates them. That sheet there is called the diaphragm. Okay, so just behind that guy is the pear-shaped organ. Is a pear-shaped organ. It's pear-shaped. Okay, pear. It's pear-shaped organ called the stomach. It's called the stomach. Excuse me. Now, in the stomach, so the food will be propelled downwards by that rhythmic contraction. That rhythmic contraction is called peristalsis or peristaltic movement. So that peristaltic movement is the movement of the food down your throat. What happens is this: in your throat, if there's the muzzle will be, pushing it down by compressing on it. Do you understand? So this is the bolus, this is the bolus. So the bolus makes its way into here. It passes through. Now the movement, for those of you that rush food, the movement of the food into this stomach is regulated. Exactly. Now the movement is regulated. The one that is regulated by what is called the cardiac sphincter. Cardiac sphincter. Sphincter. A sphincter is just any elastic tissue that controls the expansion, opening, and closing of a particular organ. Do you understand? That's a sphincter. So it's controlling the amount of food that is making its way into this place, so that food doesn't just flush down into the stomach. This is the stomach. Now, the stomach, the wall of I didn't even talk about that. The wall of this your guy here, this guy here, the alimentary canal, the esophagus there, has what looks like this. I'm going to show you now. If this is your this thing, I'm showing you the transverse section. Exactly. the dorsal view of the transverse section. Exactly, the dorsal view of the transverse section. So we are going to see um, the innermost layer here is the lumen, okay? The lumen, all right? The lumen now has various glands. I mean, the outer side of the lumen and now has glands that go inward like this. It has glands that go inward. Now those glands are called um, there are various glands, okay? Because when we get it, so I'll also draw the structure. Basically, this layer here is called the mucosa. The layer where you find these glands is called the mucosa, and the layer behind it is called the submucosa. The submucosa. Mucosa because they both secrete gland enzymes, but also mucus. Exactly. That mucus makes the food slippery so it can go down so there will be no friction. Exactly. So it can go down the alimentary canal easily. Then behind that is now circular muscles. Then we now have longitudinal muscles. These are circular muscles and these are longitudinal muscles. So this is your alimentary canal. This is the lumen, and your food is coming through the lumen. It's moving in the lumen. Exactly. So that's the way the alimentary canal is. All right. So this said, now inside the stomach, how does it look? Now your stomach. Let's first talk about the stomach itself. Behind the stomach is an organ called the spleen. The spleen, but that is not of importance to what I'm talking about here now. If I show the cubic section, the cuboidal section rather of your of the stomach, we're gonna have what looks like this. Now you're going to see structures here like this. So you're going to see what looks like perforations, okay? But they are not actually perforations, they actually extend downward. They extend downward. Exactly. They extend downward. They extend down into the layer of the. Now, this whole layer here is what you call the mucosa. Exactly. The wall of the disc is also alike to this guy. The difference is this, okay? Anatomically, we divide the wall of this thickness from this inner portion to the outer portion, this thickness here. We have the uppermost one, which is the mucosa. Then below it, sub means below, lower. Exactly. Submucosa that I wrote there. Okay, but that one was more detailed. Okay, but the basic division is what I want to show you here. The basic division: the submucosa, the muscularis, and um, the muscularis and the adventitia. Adventitia. Now in the adventitia, that's the outermost portion. Then the mucosa is the innermost portion where you find the lumen that I drew the other time. Now, so here also here you see you can see there are 5 divisions. Here there are also there are 4 divisions here, but in the wall of the stomach it is thicker. So we have 5 divisions. Even though they are still grouped into, don't forget, mucosa, submucosa, circular muscles and longitudinal muscles. So those are the 4 divisions, but more anatomically speaking, we now divide them into, we still have the mucosa, like I said, the submucosa. Now, the circular muscles, we are going to find the We also have the muscularis. Then what separates them that we find in the instead of the adventitia, we now have the serosa and the subserosa. The serosa and the subserosa. Okay, the serosa and the subserosa. So these are the 5 divisions of the wall of this guy. Okay, so I'm going to use the basic division that I talked about. So we have the circular muscles here and the longitudinal muscles here. Now here we now have the somewhere here there's also a thin wall of muscle. Okay, that's the muscularis. So somewhere here we have the submucosa, okay, the submucosa, and here is the mucosa. Now you see inside, I'm still talking about the wall of this guy of the stomach. Now there are glands that proceed downward. Okay. Now these glands here, they secrete enzymes. Now this gland here, they are the base of the gland. At the base of the gland, we have what we call the crypts of Lieberkühn. Crypts of Lieberkühn. Alright, so it's named after the guy, Lieberkühn. Those crypts of Lieberkühn secrete enzymes. Is that clear? So the enzymes will make their way out into this mucosa, the outermost part of the mucosa. So that's the way all of them invaginate, they go into the mucosa. Now, what are the enzymes that are secreted? The enzymes that are secreted by the stomach includes these 2 primarily. We have the pepsin and the renin. Now listen first. Listen. Renin is different from the enzyme renin, renin, and that one is an hormone, renin. That is, this one is an hormone, that is secreted by the, don't forget please, renin. See, renal, anything that has to do with renal is what? Kidney. Exactly, kidney. So renin, kidney will secrete an hormone called renin. Our stomach will secrete an enzyme called renin. It's actually from the word rennet. Rennet is one of the products that we use to make cheese. Yes, and cheese. Okay, so renin. Okay, now what does this guy do? It helps in the curdling of milk. Exactly, so that's renin, double N. You can see the rennet product that we use for that fatty product that I said. Is rennet, that's double N. So this one has double N. The single N guy, renal, is a hormone. Now, I said that the stomach helps in the churning of the food, that's the mechanical digestion. But the chemical digestion has to do with secretion of enzymes, which are what? Pepsin and renin. Now, the pepsin is secreted in what's it called now? It's secreted in its inactive form. It's secreted in its inactive form known as pepsinogen. Pepsinogen. Now the word gene means produce, right? So it will produce pepsin. Exactly. But it is not yet pepsin, it is the inactive form. Here's the reason. The reason why it is secreted in the inactive form is this. The stomach is where digestion of protein chiefly takes place. Okay, by the way, they are secreted by what we call chief cells. We call them what? Chief cells that secrete pepsin. So, chiefly, protein is digested in the stomach, or the digestion begins from the stomach, but it's chiefly in the stomach because this is the main hormone that digests protein together with renin. Renin also digests a special type of protein. I'll tell you when we get to food substances. Now, pepsin is secreted in the inactive form called pepsinogen. Look at the word pep, referring to peptide, right? So, in protein molecules, protein is a big moiety that is made up of peptide bond. amino acids that are held together in peptide bond. Okay, I mean, of course, the amino acid now fold and fold, undergo alpha and beta folding and all that to form the protein. But if you actually stretch it out, okay, what you see are peptones. Is that clear? Those peptones are basic structures, smaller, like if you break down protein into the structures, you get those peptones. Now, my point is now that pepsin shows you that it breaks up that peptide bond, the bond in between two amino acids. For example, look at this amino acid now. It will be bonded to another amino acid, another NH3, okay? NH. Right now, let's put a particular area. Let's say this is glycine. So it will be bonded to another amino acid, and we bonded, see, you can see OH. So let's just say, now this is a dipeptide, because there are two amino acids there. So you notice, so this bond here that is holding this amino acid and this amino acid together is called the peptide bond. So pepsin helps to break up the peptide bond. Now, I now said that the pepsin is secreted in pepsinogen as pepsinogen, which is inactive. Why? Because you see it's digesting protein, and the gland itself, the chief cells, are made up of what? They are protein in nature. Okay, so if they are protein, it means that if it is secreted directly as pepsin, the pepsin will already what? Digest the gland itself. It is known as autolysis or autodigestion. Exactly, autodigestion. Auto means self, so that is self-digestion. Exactly. So to prevent autodigestion, pepsin is secreted as pepsinogen. Now, once it now makes its way to the mucosa, it now becomes pepsin. Now, how does it become pepsin? Now, there are oxyntic cells. There are cells called oxyntic cells. Now, these oxyntic cells are the ones that produce HCl. Now, the process of production of that HCl is synonymous to that of in respiration when we dealt with carbonic anhydrase, where carbonic anhydrase help to produce the weak acid combines, it produces carbonic acid, combines carbon dioxide and water, okay, and it forms H2CO3. So this guy will now ionize to H plus and HCO3 minus. So this H plus here, then it will also, those oxygen cells will also break up, using carbonic anhydrase, this enzyme, carbonic anhydrase. It uses it to break up this guy into H plus HCO3 and HCO3 minus, and it will also break up salts, NaCl for example, into Na and Cl minus. So it will now combine H plus and Cl to form HCl. That's why the environment of the juice that is secreted in the stomach, the juice that is secreted in the stomach is called the gastric juice. So the gastric juice is what contains these enzymes and HCl. So that gastric juice has a low pH, as low as 2, even lower than 2 sometimes. Exactly. So that is acidic, right? So it is acidic because the environment for the functioning of pepsin is an acidic environment. Under acidic condition, it is able to function. That's its optimum environment, optimum condition for its action. So I now say that they will combine this and form this HCl. What does the HCl do? It's the HCl that now makes the pepsinogen active. It activates pepsinogen. HCl does what? Activates pepsinogen. Do you understand now? Activates pepsinogen. Now, the pepsinogen will now become pepsin, and that pepsin will now break up this thing, peptide bonds, proteins into amino acids. or small polypeptides. Is that clear? So they will be broken down actually into small polypeptide, not directly into amino acid yet. Now, the renin, what does renin do? So we said it is from the product that we use to make cheese, rennet, right? To make cheese. So renin, you know that that cheese is from the milk, right? Fat, the fat in the milk, right? A particular type of fat, okay? But it also has protein inside, right? That protein in the milk is called casein. So renin acts on the milk by coagulating it. It coagulates the milk. Coagulate means remove the water to make it solid. Okay, so in those solid structures, it increases the surface area and no, it coagulates. It's not increase surface area. It coagulates means it will curl it together, like rather than the flat fat molecule, it will break it up into it will congeal it. What's it called now? Just know that it coagulates it, and by coagulation of milk, is able to act on the protein called casein. Exactly, casein. That's the protein that's inside your milk. The protein in your milk, casein. Now, so that is what happens in this guy. So now also by the action of churning, by that mechanical action, it would have broken up the food into a semi-solid. That semi-solid is called a chyme. It's called what? A chyme. Don't forget, we began here with what? Bolus. Inside this place, what makes its way out of this place is a what? Is a chyme. Now it's going to make its way out of this place. This portion, there is also a sphincter. That sphincter is called the pyloric sphincter. The pyloric sphincter. It's a bit of an angle, but try and just get it. Pyloric sphincter. Now, in that pyloric sphincter, chyme will now make its way out of this place into this C-shaped organ here. This C-shaped organ here is the duodenum. The duodenum. Then there is now you see there is now an opening into a leaf-like organ. It is leaf-like in structure, leaf-like. Now that leaf-like structure is called the pancreas. Let me clean this guy. Duodenum. So that leaf-like structure is called the pancreas. So now, just before it gets, now it's not only the pancreas that is active here, there is also the largest organ in the human body, which is the liver. Now listen, in real life, the liver actually covers a larger part of the stomach, but I try to shift it to this portion. Exactly. Now the liver has just inside of it, because it's a membrane, like I opened it up this way. So inside it, we are going to see what is called the gallbladder. The gallbladder. Now, you know that liver helps to destroy red blood cells, right? So it uses that old worn out red blood cells. It uses it to produce bile. What is called what? Bile. You notice the liver produces bile. Okay, now that bile will now be stored in the gallbladder. Don't forget, the gallbladder is not that produces bile, it only stores the bile that is produced by the liver. It stores the bile produced by the liver. And the liver uses red blood cells, erythrocytes, to produce what? Bile. Now, then the bile now has a duct, okay? A duct, this is called the bile duct. The bile duct is so called because it allows for the passage of bile So it adds secretions to this pancreas, and it opens to the pancreas. Sorry, it adds secretions into the food that is in the duodenum and the pancreatic duct. This is called the pancreatic duct. So the pancreatic duct also opens into the guy here, into the duodenum here. So both of them add secretions. So this bile now, what does it do? Now contains bile contains um, what's it called? Salts. We call them bile salts. Exactly, bile salts. There are basically two that you need to know. Those are taurocholate, and sodium glyco. Is that one there? Sodium glycocholate, taurocholate and sodium glycocholate. It also produces NaHCO3. Exactly. These are the three salts that you need to know. Now, these bile salts, what do? They help to reduce the surface tension. They reduce the surface tension of fat fatty food, that is fat and oils. Exactly now. So how does it do that? What's increasing the surface reduce the surface tension? When something has a large surface tension, it is hard to break up. Exactly. Surface tension is the ability of the substance to behave like a stretched elastic surface, elastic material. So it will reduce that surface tension so that it can be broken up. Do you understand? So with high surface tension, it cannot be broken. It cannot be broken down rather when I say breaking up. It cannot be broken down. So this taurocholate and sodium glycocholate, they help to reduce the surface tension so that it will break up into tiny. It will be easy to break up into tiny structures called micelle or micelles. You remember the way when we did organic chemistry, those micelles that are formed by your soaps and this thing. So that tells you that some of these salts is used. What's this guy called? This is baking soda, but you know it is the precursor for production of washing soda. This is washing soda. This is the chief component of the soap that we use. So they help to break up that fatty food into tiny or oil into tiny molecules that we call micelles. Exactly. Micelle, MICELLES. Now, another thing that this guy does is this. You notice that it is formed from a weak acid and a strong base. What are the strong base? If you don't understand that, you see my video on salt and acid base and salt. Now, it is made up of NaO, it is made from NaOH plus H2CO3. This is a weak, very weak acid and a very strong base. So what will happen? If it's a weak acid and strong base, then the salt that is produced will have basic property. Exactly. It will have a basic property. So it is alkaline. What it does is it makes that acidic guy, you know, the food, our kind, is acidic as it's making its way out of the stomach. By the time it gets here, that acidity is neutralized by that base. Exactly now, it's neutralized by this salt basically because the salt is basic since it is made from strong acid weak base, strong base weak acid. Right, exactly now. So the bile also have other secretions which are we call them bilirubin and biliverdin. Now these are not enzymes. So if you ask which of these does not secrete enzyme, bile does not have enzyme, does not contain enzyme. Bilirubin and biliverdin help in breakdown of this thing the more. This guy fat the more. Right? So what happens is that this guy now makes its way. Okay, we're not talking about the pancreas. Now there's the pancreatic juice. This is the pancreatic duct. Now the pancreatic juice, the pancreas has both endocrine and exocrine function. So its function in the digestive system is exocrine. Its function in the endocrine system, in homeostasis of the body, is endocrine because it secretes insulin and glucagon. Is that okay? Insulin helps to reduce body sugar, body glucose by absorbing into the muscle of the body, while glucagon, which the same guy secretes, help to push out glucose, is that clear, into the blood. Excuse me. Okay. So like I was saying, so its exocrinal function is what I want to talk about now. So in the exocrine function, which is its function in the digestive system, it is going to produce pancreatic juice. It produces what? Pancreatic juice. Pancreatic juice. The pancreas produces pancreatic juice. Now, what's the pancreatic juice? I'm going to clean everything here, so make sure you have jotted it now. I'm going to clean everything after now because I still have more to talk about. So, the pancreatic juice contains pancreatic amylases, and other enzymes, pancreatic enzymes. Okay, the chief ones, pancreatic enzymes, the chief ones are the pancreatic amylase. So it means that, we said the secret removes glucose, right, by insulin. So amylase also function on carbohydrate. So the digestion of carbohydrate is completed around here. Do you understand? Or there is further, not completed. There is further digestion, not completed. Completion is in the intestine. So there's further digestion of carbohydrate by pancreatic amylases. Exactly. The pancreatic amylase is basically diastase. It's basically what? Diastase. Don't forget that name. We've done this in our alcohol video. We talked about it. When you drink alcohol, diastase act on it. That's alcohol. Aldehyde and ketone. Okay. We also talked about it in alcohol because we said the process of production of alcohol in industrial process of preparation. We use carbohydrate to make alcohol. So it's this diastase that we use. Alright. The pancreatic enzymes include the following. We have the trypsin, the elastase, chymotrypsin, and we also have peptidases. Now, you see, this one, that they primarily digest protein. They primarily digest what? Protein. This is the one that digests carbohydrates. So, they are also secreted for the same reasons as pepsinogen. They are secreted in their inactive form. The inactive form of this guy is what? Trypsinogen. The inactive form of this guy is what? Chymotrypsinogen. Then this one will be proelastase, this one propeptidase. So those are the inactive forms. The reason is also because of what? Auto digestion, so that it will not digest the gland that secretes it. Now, I've told you that it is when they now get to the outside the mucosal layer of the tissue of the organ itself that they now become active and they act on their this thing. They are activated by pepsinogen is particularly activated by HCl. Okay, HCl and pepsino is not only HCl. There is already small amount. There will be small amount of pepsin inside this place. But since food is now eating, more pepsinogen will be produced. When they now get here, pepsin and HCl will help to activate it. When an enzyme activates its precursor, it's called autocatalysis. Autocatalytic reaction is an autocatalytic reaction. when an enzyme activates its precursor molecule. All right, so let me clean that please. Now, I now said that the so this guy now they also digest protein. Those guys I just mentioned. Now this guy will now make its way all the way here. Okay, so just part of my diagram, okay? Part of my diagram. It's not supposed to be this, you know. So I'm supposed to clean this portion, this portion, this one that is going, this one came like this. Okay, this one should go out. Okay, I basically try to, because there is convolution, a lot of convolution in the intestine. So this one here, this portion here is called the jejunum. The jejunum. Now there's pretty much no digestion that takes place in the jejunum. It just helps to lead into the last portion of the small intestine. The small intestine is composed of duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. So this portion there, or this portion here, is called the ileum. So if you ask which portion is the largest, is the longest, is the ileum. The portion of the small intestine that is the longest is the ileum. Then the ileum now connects to the large intestine. This one goes through the back, so it should go like this. The small intestine enters through the back. This we said is the duodenum. Okay, so now the lead here, okay. All right, so they connect. Now this portion of the canal, of the alimentary canal, is called the this portion, this whole portion is large, you can see. So it's called the large intestine. The large intestine has the following. This place here where they connect is called the cecum, not cecum, cecum. That's the pronunciation. Cecum, exactly. Then the food rises up here, exactly. This is where absorption takes place. Inside the small intestine, the ileum, is where absorption takes place. Here, assimilation rather takes place here. I didn't even discuss the ileum. Let me quickly discuss the ileum with you. Now, inside the ileum, if the ileum is this tube, if I open the inside of this tube, so that tube, that inside of that ileum, you're going to see what looks like this. Let's first draw the 3D. Now, this you are seeing here are, you see, they are the villus. They are the villi rather. One is villus, they are the villi of the small intestine. Now, this guy helps to increase the surface area of the intestine. Remember, saliva here increases surface area of food for action of enzyme. When stomach to churns on the food to make it into kind is to further increase the surface area. But here, it is the surface area of the intestine that is increased so that absorption can take place. I'll draw a single villi here now. A single villi is made up of the outer epithelium, and there is the lacteal. Okay, there's the lacteal membrane. The lacteal help in the digestion. This is called the lacteal. The lacteal. Then these ones are blood vessels. exactly, blood vessels that run up. So the protein nutrients will be absorbed into the blood vessels and the fat into lacteal. Exactly, this is lacteal, these are blood vessels. Now I now say that, so you see it's connected like this. Then blood vessels run on it like this. Blood vessels. So they are capillaries. They are capillaries. This network you are seeing here, they are what? Capillaries. Okay? They are capillaries. So and it will be nutrient rich. Okay, so the blood that enter, so if it's coming from here like this is what? Artery. So the one that comes here will be blood, will be nutrient deficient. Once it goes out like this from the capillary now, from this next capillary, this side of the capillary, it now goes via the vein. Excuse me, via the vein, and that vein is going to be the is going to carry nutrient rich blood. Exactly. So epithelial cells, they are broken up, they help in the digestion, the absorption of these substances, of these nutrients that this thing has broken down. Okay, has broken down. So now this here is also we have two these things here. The ones in between, we call them crypts of Leberkin, and the ones inside there, we call them the glands. Inside there, we call them Brunner's gland. Brunner's gland. They also add secretions. Okay, we'll talk about their secretion now. The crypt of Leberkin, we also saw them in the esophagus, right? Then also here, we are seeing them again. Brunner's glands are also there. Is that right? So now, what this they are both glands, and what do they secrete? Now the crypt of Leberkin and Brunner's gland, they secrete, since they are in the small intestine, they basically secrete maltase, lipase, and uh, maltase, lipase, and which one again? Sucrase. So for digesting what? For breaking down sucrose. This one for breaking down maltose. For breaking down maltose. Okay? Maltase. So let me clean this. So this one is one structure of one of these guys, this villi that I drew. So it breaks it down, maltase, it breaks it down into maltose. And maltose, I'm sorry, it breaks maltose down into glucose and fructose. Exactly. This is a disaccharide, and these are monosaccharides. Okay, they are different. Okay, but they are both 6 carbon molecule. Both of them have 6,6,H12O6 as their formula, but their shapes are different. Okay, this one is an aldehyde. This is a ketone. This one begins with C double bond O, while this one begins with C. The double bond O is at the 5th carbon. No. How do we draw glucose? Glucose is I'm coming. Let me try. Let me draw structure of CH2OH and C C C C C C 3 4 5 6 CH2OH. Is it? So this glucose here you have OH on this side, H, OH, OH, OH. So this is glucose, but for sucrose, you still have 6 carbon, but this is a ketone, right? So it's a ketose sugar because it's made of a ketone. This is the alkanone functional group, and this one is alkanal functional group. Exactly, alkanal. What makes it an alkanal? No. This is C double bond OH. So this O attacks this in Africa. Okay, and how is it now different from this? It is different. No, okay, this one is the one that begins fructose. I'm sorry. CH2OH. Then this one has double bond in between here. Ketone functional group is like this now. RC double bond OR. So this ketone. So this carbon carrying the oxygen is in between. But this one is aldehyde. The carbon carrying the double bond is at the beginning. Is terminal. Terminal carbon aldehyde. Carbon that is between, that is within ketone. So that's just it. I'm just trying to show you that they are different. Exactly, they are different. Right. Then the next thing is now this guy. Lipase hydrolyzes fat and oils. Remember fat and oil? Fat will be broken down into what? Fatty acids. Fatty acids and oils are what? Will be broken down into glycerol. You know that's what makes up lipids. It breaks down lipids. So what makes up lipids are fat and oil. Okay, there is the glycerol backbone, and then we now have fatty acids, fatty acids, fatty acids. So to break it up into glycerol and fatty acids. Okay, this one I drew here is called a triglyceride. A triglyceride. So it means we are going to get 3 glycerides, that is 3 fatty acids from this one on the action of lipase. Then sucrase breaks down sucrose into glucose and what is in sucrose? Glucose and maltose is glucose and fructose. Sucrose will be glucose and glucose, glucose and glucose. Then that's double glucose. Then lactose. Okay, there's also lactase. Lactase breaks down lactose. That's milk sugar to galactose and glucose. Okay, yes. So galactose and glucose for lactose, sucrose, maltose. Please check these ones. This sucrose. I don't know why I'm not remembering. That's C12, H22O11. Just check it, please. Verify that. So here there is now. So that's what happens in the small intestine. You can already see that there is a great deal of digestion that takes place in the small intestine. Now, this guy here, this place here. So I said the food is now taken into the cecum. Now here is what we call an appendix. It's called the vermiform appendix. Vermiform because vermi means worm, like a worm, like earthworm. So worm-like, that's the vermiform. Vermiform appendix. You can already see that it has a worm-like structure. Now, what's its function? Its function is to remove grit or particles that are waste, that are bad, rather, that are harmful, that are gritty, that are in the that have been taken up with the food. They will be stored here. Now, if you eat dirty food too much, this thing will swell up, and when it swell up, it might even burst. That bursting is called appendicitis. The person suffers from what is called appendicitis. Then the person will have to undergo an operation called appendectomy to remove the bad appendix. Is it clear? So food will now begin to make its way up here, during which water and other substances, basically water, primarily water, will be absorbed from it. This one that goes up is called the ascending colon. It's called what? The ascending colon. Ascending. Colon, not column, please. Colon, like colon. This colon, yes. This semicolon. So colon, not column, not this. Not column. Okay, this one is the transverse. Transverse. colon, and this one is the one that is going down, the descending colon. Then this one that is S-shaped, this portion here you can see is S-shaped, but the other side of it is called the sigmoid colon. Then this portion here is called the rectum. The rectum. So this is where feces is stored. Feces is stored. Then there's a ring here that controls your anus. This is your anus here. This is the anus. That ring is called the anal sphincter. You know, we saw that in this guy too. Sphincter. We saw it in the stomach as well. So the sphincter regulates the amount of the feces will come out of you. And the process of removing the feces is called defecation. Now look at the spelling. This is the British spelling, but the American spelling is Defectl. So, but this one we use in Nigeria. So, all right. So that is basically it. For now, this rectum also has valves. It has valves. The first valve is called the intrinsic. That's the one that is internal, intrinsic valve, and the other one is called the extrinsic valve. Exactly. They both control bowel movement. Okay, the amount how your fecal matter will be coming out of the anus. So that'll be it for this video. Do want to subscribe to the channel. No. Food substance. We'll do food substance in another video. God bless you. I'm sorry for not keeping to my promise.